Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Marvel Zombies Season 1. So, this is a continuation of that 2021 episode, What If Zombies? So, I went into this completely blind because I never really watched the What If series. See, I don't like the What If series for a couple of reasons. Well, actually, there's two reasons. One, I really hate the animation, and I'm not even joking. I hate that like shell shading like crap. I've never really been a fan of that type of animation. I was kinda okay with the MTV Spider-Man show when they used it, but not really. So I've never really been a fan of that. Also, another reason why I don't like What If is because I find the stories be very boring and I can barely watch one episode. So I tried to watch the first episode with the Captain Carter thing. I could not finish that. So then I'm all like, okay, well, this was years ago, by the way. And so I'm like, okay, I like zombies. I'll at least watch the zombie episode. And I can only watch the first couple of minutes. So I never finished it. So I went into this completely blind. With it being so close to October and everything. I really wanted to like check some type of zombie something out, you know what I'm saying? So I decided to watch this and I was very shocked to find out it's only 4 episodes and everything. It's really short. And so after watching those 4 episodes, I told myself, I wonder if this is like a sequel to that What If Zombie episode. Because it does not appear to be related to the comic at all. Because I don't see Mystique or none of the X-Men anywhere. So after watching these 4 episodes, I went back and I finally finished that What If Zombie episode. And I was right, this is a sequel to it. It's still funny to see how all this started just by like Janet Van Dyne contracting the virus in the quantum realm and like biting Captain America. Like that's just so weird. And I think she probably bit some other people too, but it's just so weird, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, she bit Hank and everything. And yeah, that's just so weird. Like it was just like the tiniest thing. So when watching the 4 episodes, you know, I think it's an okay series. It's not great. There was some interesting twists and turns. Some of the voice cast worked, some of them didn't. I still hate the animation. There was plenty of action, but the problem is the action goes by so quickly. You kind of have a hard time trying to take it in. Plus, with the darkness of the shadowy tint and like the animation, it just goes by so crisp, so fast, and you're not quite sure what you see, but sometimes you can make it out. And so a few of the characters from that What If episode, they reappear here. They changed Spider-Man's look and webbing, I've noticed. But I just think it's an okay kind of series. It's a little it's a little meh. And there are times it can get kind of boring, but there are times it can get kind of interesting. Now, the series was created by Brian Andrews and Zeb Wells. Now, Brian Andrews has worked for plenty of stuff with Marvel before, and he's going to take over for the X-Men 97 series. Lord have mercy, Jesus. If this is what he came up with, then I'm afraid. I'm very afraid. And this has literally been in the works since 2021. It is now 2025. And this is what they came up with. And I couldn't believe they shoved this one character down our throats for the millionth freaking time. I'm so sick and tired of shoving her in our throats and everything. Now, Blade Knight, he was cool. I gotta admit, I did not like the humor in him. However, I was shocked and surprised that they added humor into this because I was thinking to myself, okay, zombies gonna be serious. But then they went back to the whole, like, humor stuff, which I didn't know at that time it was based on that What If episode. So that makes total sense. That What If episode had way too much humor. So while this had humor, I'm kind of okay with it now after watching that other episode. So this is part of phase 6, and they introduce a bunch of new characters that have been introduced into the MCU. Now, personally for me, I've always wanted to see Marvel Zombie in live action, and apparently Kevin Feige does too. Back in 2013, he pitched the idea but got turned down because of the target demographic that Marvel caters to. You know who that is. Little kids and babies. Marvel Disney baby humor, the thing that ruins it all and everything. And so because of that, we could never got no live action Marvel zombies. But my God, we really should have. Because think about it. A lot of these characters have appeared in Disney Plus Marvel series. Some in the movies. They can do the costumes. They can do zombies because look at The Walking Dead. You know what I'm saying? And this would have been so much cooler if they done that. However, the action when it comes to the special effects, magical stuff like that is better in animation. They can do so much more. The 10 Rings look more amazing in animation than they do in live action. I was very shocked and surprised to see the cast of characters we have for this. Some people I would not have put in there, but this is mostly some of the newer people in the newer phases and stuff. A lot of those cooler characters that I wish was in here, they pretty much died in that What If episode. I was really shocked and surprised to what they did with the Hulk. I was not expecting that at all. The writing, what it reminds me of a little bit? Avengers Assemble, where they would just randomly throw characters into any random situation and randomly something good will come at the end. However, the ending to this clearly sets up a season 2 and it's a little confusing. I don't know what to make of it. Was it all a dream from the first episode? Did she use the infinity powers to create a new reality? What the heck happened, This is the second time Marvel has done that. They did that in the Ironheart series at the end. But pretty much, yeah, I just think it's kind of mid. I think it's there are some interesting episodes, but you stop and I ask myself, why did this character do this and why did they do that? One of the things that really bugs me is when there are clearly zombies coming, and instead of people running, they just kind of stand there and stare. And that really, really bugs me. It's do something. And I really don't understand how they thought this ragtag group of maybe 6, 7, 8 people was gonna stop a zombie invasion. It's kind of like how they thought the Avengers were gonna stop it, back in season 2 of What If. I mean, the Avengers stopped an alien invasion, so that still don't make no sense to me. That first Avengers movie, I just don't know, man. It's just kind of how did they stop all that? Yeah, I saw the animated Ultimate Avengers, and it makes a little bit more sense as to how they stopped that. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. So the episodes, let's start with episode 1. So the beginning of the first episode, it centers around that of Kate Bishop, Riri Williams, and Kamala Khan. And so these three basically just bond as they're killing zombies and trying to survive. Also, they're accompanied by which at first I thought was Iron Man, but then he had a teddy bear head. I'm what the heck? Technically, it's the AI Friday that's operating this suit. And so, okay, before I go any further, let me just get this out the way. And it might sound a little controversial. So, if you've ever watched my channel and the projects in which not Kate Bishop, what's her name? Haley Steinfeld has been in, you know I'm a huge fan of hers. And I'm always praising her work. However, I feel like she needs a bit work on her voice acting. See, the thing about her acting, and especially in the role that made her famous, which I have yet to ever talk about, but I do plan on rewatching because I do have on DVD and I'm going to talk about in the future. She's really good when it comes to like expressions. That's where like a lot of her charm comes from in her acting. And in voice acting, you can't see those expressions. And so her voice acting just kind of comes off as kind of dull and whatchamacallem, like just a little boring because she's reading from a script as opposed to like memorizing her lines and like giving lots of expressions. Now, the actress, I think her name is Dominique, I believe, who plays Riri. Now, I've told you before, I wasn't the biggest fan of her acting, not in the Wakanda movie, and not really in the Ironheart series. But I thought she did a pretty good job when it came to voice acting. And then that brings me to this person, which is gonna sound very controversial. Now, I'm done. I'm done. I've given this woman 3 chances to prove that she can act. And in all 3 chances, in my opinion, she has not done a very good job. She needs acting lessons badly, and she needs an acting coach. If she has an acting coach, fire that person and hire somebody new. I do not like this version of Miss Marvel, and that is because of the lackluster acting that comes from the actress, I guess you can call her that. I think her name is Aman Avali. Now, I've said this before. I gotta stop starting sentences off like that. I've said this before. I do want her to succeed because she is very beautiful and she is diverse. She's the type of diversity that we need. How often do you see an Indian actress in an American project that's not centered around an Indian family or an entire Indian cast? All right. However, she has never truly had any acting lessons and never went to acting school because that wasn't her profession before Marvel scooped her up. She was just some random person on the internet and they was doing casting calls and she's a Miss Marvel fan. And so they thought, hey, well, this character, Kamala Khan, is a Miss Marvel fan and she's a Miss Marvel fan and they're both Indian and stuff like that. And like, somehow she won like the role. I have never, ever been thrilled with her acting. Not even a little. I did not like it in the Miss Marvel television series. I did not like it in The Marvels, the theatrical movie. And I sure as hell do not like it in this animated show. Every time she talks, it sounds like gibberish coming out her mouth. She's not putting in no effort. She's not trying to sound professional. She's just jibber jabbering. And it's coming off as lackluster. And it's coming off as unprofessional. And it's just kind of like, even when she has like one line, and it's just like a 1-word line, or some kind of weird noise she has to make, it sounds like she's not even putting no effort into it. And that drives me nuts. Because I've already said I hate the animation. And a lot of the mouth movements don't match up with some of the people's voices. Other people who are more professional and have been acting for a very long time, their voices matches the movement of the animation. But hers is just, I can't take it no more. And I've said a long time ago when she did the Miss Marvel series, at some point in time, they're about to put her in the Miss Marvel movie. And she's going to be in other Marvel movies. And everybody else acting is going to blow her away because she has never been trained. And I was right. In the Miss Marvel's movie, even though Brie Larson is not no good actress, in my opinion, she's very wooden and very stiff, everybody else blew her away. Even in voice animation, people are still blowing her away. Even people who have never done voice animation are blowing her away. I cannot take it because I'm actually a fan of Kamala Khan from the animated stuff, the Disney Channel animated stuff, the Marvel Rising stuff. I love that version. Okay? That's what actually got me into liking this character because I don't read comics. And when they changed Miss Marvel into like a Muslim character, I said, okay, because that's how I am. If they change something in the comics, I'm like, all right. I don't sit around and whine and cry about it. There's no like snowflake tears coming out my eyes like all these toxic guys on YouTube. I see something, they change something, I'm like, all right, and I move on. And then I see what this person is about. And so the animated version I always liked. So when she came into live action, I was thrilled, but then I was disappointed. And for the love of God, why in the world are they constantly shoving this character, the MCU version, and sometimes the actress, down our throats? I don't care what nobody says. Yes, they are. Let's look at the timeline. First, she gets cast as Miss Marvel. They make her the very first mutant in the MCU. Granted, they wanted to make her a mutant in the comics, but for whatever legal reasons, maybe 20th Century Fox prevented this. So when they got the rights back, they was able to make her a mutant in the comic from when she used to be an Inhuman. This pissed people off. But once again, they made her the first mutant in the MCU with the X-Men theme song. I think the movie X-Men theme song, which was jacked up. Like, really? She's the first mutant in the MCU? Then, you know, like, you're constantly seeing, like, articles about her, like, on the internet. I think, like, there's the whole Samuel L. Jackson thing when she was goofing around and not being too serious on set and just, you know, acting very immature and everything. Somebody felt they needed to talk about that on the internet and post that as an actual news article. I don't care. Then, I think the MCU is gonna have her do something with a comic book. I'm not sure what. I don't know if she's supposed to write a comic or she's supposed to talk about it or present it or something, but they're gonna do that. Then she was the heart and soul of like the Miss Marvel's movie. And it made all of y'all fall in love with her. Then at the end, she is the one recruiting the young Avengers. Why her? Why her? Why couldn't it be Kate Bishop? She's actually been trained by an Avenger. Why couldn't it be Stature? Her dad's and like Avenger. Why her? Then her dad, speaking of dads, her dad was in the Daredevil series for some bizarre reason. In the most random episode ever from the old regime of when that show was first supposed to come out. And then something else, I forget what, that she's supposed to be a part of, but I can't think of it right now. And it's just like constantly they're trying to make people fall in love with this like character and this actress. But and it worked for all of y'all because I don't know why everybody loves her so much. They're all like, oh, only one person can play this role, and it's Amon and everything. No, anybody can play this role because it's called acting. And then it's just like they're all like, oh, she's so infectious. We love her so much, and she's so great, and she's the best thing in the MCU. No, no, I don't feel that way. And the MCU is really the only project she's ever been a part of. Since she's been cast in the MCU, everything she's been in has been part of like the MCU family. She hasn't even branched out into any other parts in Hollywood because Hollywood realizes she can't act. And not only that, but I said this before. I gotta stop saying that. I gotta stop saying that phrase. The new young actress who plays Lilo in the live action Lilo and Stitch, ever since she was in that, she's booked two other roles. Granted, one's on Disney Channel, and I don't know where the other one is, but she's able to branch out. This actress has not yet. Oh, and another way to keep shoving her down our throats. In the first episode, she's the only one who survives out of the trio. Riri gets bit, and I think Kate blows up or something like that. And it's like, really? Really? She's the only one who survives. And not only that, but she's giving the MacGuffin that's supposed to like save everyone. Because she's shoved down our throats. That's not even a coincidence. This is literally planned. They're literally trying to make her into kind of like the new Iron Man, I guess, like the new Robert Downey Jr. Remember how Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man wasn't everything? How he appeared in the Hulk movie recruiting people. Then he just happened to pop up in the third Captain America movie. He's the one who's always saving the day. He invented time travel. She's starting to become that character. And it's driving me nuts. Because her bangle is part of a bigger story MacGuffin in the MCU. I mean, I guess I would have been okay with this if the actress could act, but she cannot. And no, I do not hate the actress. I just wish she could act. That's all I want. That's literally the only thing I want. Other than that, I don't have a problem with her and stuff. Okay, update. So she's finally booked like 3 new gigs in 2025 after debuting in 2022. So at least now she's finally getting a little exposure and stuff. I just didn't check her like what's the thing called? Wikipedia page in like a while. Seriously though, I wish to God they would stop like shoving her down our throats. Like my God. I can't take her acting no more. And like I said before, look, it's not her, it's just her acting, man. But anyway, the three of them, they're at like Kate's mom's place, and some zombies attack, and they find this tiny device inside one of the zombies. And I think it belongs to Hank or something like that, Hank Pym. So they try to take it to like a shield facility or something like that. And they get attacked by like a bunch of zombies and are saved by Blade. And Blade is really cool in this, in my opinion. It sucks he's not in the MCU. I kind of wish he was Moon Knight in the MCU, to tell you the truth. Like, this whole combination is very fascinating and everything. But he's known as like Blade Knight. So they have to get this like tiny device and like, get it to like the Nova Corps for whatever reason. So that's their little mission and stuff, right? But in order to do that, they have to get into like outer space and all this other crap. And so, like, and of course, it's up to none other than Miss Marvel to save the freaking day. At some point, they reached like the Black Widow organization, and we get Yelena, and all these people are voiced. Yelena's voiced by the live action actress. Red Guardian is too. Her mother is there. I forget her name. Malena or something like that, the scientist lady. And so basically, a horde of zombies led by a Kool-Aid from, that's a, sound like I said a Kool-Aid, a Kool-Aid led by her. Now she got bit back in What If. But one thing that's fascinating about these zombies is that they still have their powers and ability. These aren't the slow walking zombies. These are like fast zombies who can fight and stuff. And they have a little bit of consciousness. But she seems to have all of her. She seems to be controlled by somebody. And we find out that she's being controlled none other than Wanda, the Scarlet Witch. And so Wanda is the queen of the dead, and she wants something very bad. So the scientist lady finds a way to kind of disrupt the zombie brain waves or something like that, and kind of put them under her control. After she says that, Okule stabs her in the chest, and so like this really devastates Yelena. So they have to make their way and fight their way on out of there and everything, as all the Black Widows are just getting like slaughtered left and right. There are like these red eye zombies. Those are the ones controlled by Wanda. And then there are just like regular zombies. And so they have to make their way and try to find a way into outer space. With the second episode, I was confused as to what the heck was going on. It jumps from them, then it goes all the way to the outbreak 5 years ago with Shang-Chi, and I think her name is Katie and everything. And so we see, the zombie attack, they're running and everything. And his father tries to like save them, but his son ends up getting bit on the right arm. And so his dad gives him like the 10 rings, and somehow that stops his zombie infection, but his hand turns black. And so, like, as they're making their way and everything, 5 years jump into the future, and now it's kind of like a Mad Max situation with him and Katie, or with a group of people on these decked out cars, armored cars, and just like killing zombies and stuff. Now, it's never explained as to how the 10 rings prevent him from turning into a zombie. Doesn't one think this could probably be a way to help save humanity? But nobody never asked that question. And so they find like Kamala in her group. And so it's now like, let's see, is Kamala, is Yelena, Red Guardian, Blade, Death Dealer, Jimmy, Katie, and Shang-Chi. I don't know who the heck Death Dealer is. I've never heard of this character before, and they really don't say nothing. So they make their way to like the ocean aboard the raft, and Baron Zemo is the one who controls it. And so basically, everybody's just living there in peace. They're maxing, they're relaxing, but then something happens. We see a bunch of zombies down below. And the next thing you know, we see Neymar, who is like a zombie. And then, like, all of a sudden, Zemo just like betrays them and everything, which you kind of figured he was going to do. I mean, he's Zemo, for crying out loud. He figures he could make like Neymar happy if he could, like, give him half the heroes to eat. And then if the zombies attack, that's what the other, like, heroes are for. And I just asked myself, why would he do this for? Like, that's really stupid. There's nothing that explains as to why he would do this. And then, of course, a Kool-Aid, I can't say it, a Kool-Aid, and her group, they like attack and everything. And so Yelena has to get like the group of people who are still alive on out of there, because of course they have to get Kamala Khan and that little device up to the Nova Corps, and they realize that New Asgard has like a spaceship and everything. So she sacrifices herself to put the others in the escape pod and go, including Zemo, which is kind of like nobody, and I mean nobody, was pissed at him for what he did. And it's kind of like, yo, y'all all almost died because of him. Yelena died because of him. And in the next two episodes, nobody's pissed at him. Nobody questions what he did. It's like, where is the character development and writing for this? Where is the emotion? I am very worried about like this Brian Andrews guy. So they make their way to New Asgard, but we find out what happened about 5 years ago, I think. So it kind of picks off where the What If episode ended on. We see Spider-Man, we see Scott Lang, and we see Black Panther as they're in Wakanda and trying to stop like Thanos and everything from getting the last Infinity Stone. Because Thanos is like a zombie and stuff. That's how it ended in that episode all those years ago. And we get this like monologue narration by Spider-Man. And one thing I found very interesting about this is that T'Challa is completely silent. They didn't recast him at all because Chadwick, sadly, may he rest in peace, passed away. And everything that he does, the sacrifices he makes and everything, is all narrated by Peter Parker. I don't like that whatsoever. They could have easily recast a voice actor for his role. And Brian talked to Ryan Coogler too, and he said Ryan gave him some notes about like how this scene could kind of like play out, and you know, I get that it was tragic. The dude died, you know what I'm saying? And I was one of those people when he first died. I'm all like, you know what? Either kill his character off, or don't recast and everything. But then after a while, I started to stop and think. And I'm just like, you know what? Just recast him already. Because, I grew up as a teenager in the 90s. And I remember when I first saw Black Panther and Fantastic Four. And he was so cool. Then as an adult, I saw the Ultimate Avengers 2. Rise of the Black Panther. And he was even cooler. And he's just a really cool character. And it's just odd how Marvel keeps handling him. It's just so weird. But they can recast everybody else who dies and stuff. So anyway, he sacrifices himself. Peter and Lang think they're about to be destroyed because of all the infinity energy and everything, because Black Panther pushed zombie Thanos into the core of vibranium, and the big explosion caused the power to go all crazy and stuff like that. But somehow they were saved, and they ended up in what's that place called? Kamar Taj or something like that. And so they're there. And they're there with the mystic, magic sorcerer people and stuff like that from London. And so, like I said before, Kamala and her group, they make it to, New Asgard. And Valkyrie's being her typical little crappy brat self and everything. But then later on, Khonshu, convinces her to let them in. So as they're there, there's a huge feast that's about to go on. And Thor, that's right, Thor was in Wakanda and everything. He tried to stop Thanos, and Thanos pretty much blasted half his face off. So he's sad and depressed and everything like that. As to why he is sad and depressed doesn't make no sense. Like, I get why he was sad and depressed in live action when the whole Thanos thing happened, because Thanos snapped his fingers, but in this version, Thanos does not snap his fingers. So what the heck is he sad and depressed about? I don't trust the writing. I don't trust that dude's writing for X-Men 97. Anyway, so after that, um they talk about how like Wanda's like all great and all this and that, and Kamala and all them like, what the world are you talking about? Wanda's like, evil. Now I love myself some Elizabeth Olsen, but she is not a good voice actress, and the animation on her human face just something it looked like she had filler face, no emotion, no nothing. Like her face looked Botox the way she couldn't even move or emote and everything. But anyway, so she's pretending like, oh no, I'm good, blah blah blah. But then she lets out her villainous side and reveals to everybody, hey, it's all an illusion. And the feast that they had was just like zombie flesh they was eating. Because Wanda needs an army. But an army for what exactly? And so you think she wants the little device that like Kamala had and stuff. But no, she just wants Kamala, shoving her down our throats again. So Kamala is the chosen one. And so Red Guardian actually ate some people. So he is slowly turning. So they try to make their way out of there. And Thor comes in and finally helps them and stuff. They board like a spaceship and they get on out of there. So they use a little tiny device to, also Red Guardian sacrificed himself. There's a bunch of random characters just dying, like characters you like. Like I was really hoping Red Guardian survived because he was really upset about the Yelena thing. Now that dude showed emotion. And so they used the spaceship to hook up to the device to send out a signal to Nova Corps. Only problem is Nova Corps shows up within seconds. Turns out they've been there forever. And they never tried to help Earth. In fact, they don't want the infection to like spread upon like the cosmos. So in the next episode, they are fleeing for their lives as the Nova Corps is trying to take them out. They blow up the ship, but Kamala is able to use her powers to make a force field. And then they hurtle back to Earth. And then they're saved by the Mystic people and stuff. And we find out what the heck happened and why exactly, where Hulk is at in their thing from like, the What If episode. So it turns out, and this was an interesting twist that I never saw coming, and I don't know how I feel about this because it's kind of weird and kind of stupid. Hulk was in Wakanda, and he absorbed all the infinity energy. So he's kind of like a bridge between like this portal that the infinity energy like caused and everything. And he's now Infinity Hulk. He has to stay there and everything. Wanda wants him because she wants his power and stuff. And so like this is why she needed an army. So her army is vast by now. And so it's the fight for their lives and they might not make it. And so Wanda's army attacks Hulk. And he's kicking butt left and right. But he's taking some major battle wounds and everything. In comes, I guess you can call them the new Avengers. Kamala and her group. And they help him out. And so the thing is, they can't let Wanda touch Hulk. They put up a good fight, but of course, bam, she touches him. She absorbs all his energy, but then something happens. She's calling out to Kamala, and it's all like, Kamala, I need you and everything. I can't do this without you, blah, 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 blah. And just give me your hand. I'll make everything better. I will heal like everybody and save everybody. And like a fool, Kamala takes her hand. Now, I don't know if she was hexed, because, Wanda can hex people. So Kamala gives her her hand. Apparently, and it's never explained how, in order to absorb the infinity energy, Wanda needed that of Kamala and her powers. But why? The Hulk was able to absorb it, but then the Hulk is near invincible and like invulnerable and immortal. So maybe that's how he was able to do it, but Wanda's pretty powerful, but somehow she still needed Kamala's powers for some bizarre reason, but it's never explained why. Maybe because Kamala has like a crystalline, like, rock energy, and that kind of like, I don't know, contains the power probably. I don't know. But then Kamala wakes up. And when she wakes up, everything is normal. Her friends are still alive. Being that of like Riri and Kate. And so they're just hanging out. She's like crushing on some boy she sees. She says yum 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 yum, as in she's crushing on him. And I hate when she does that. Please get some acting lessons, please. But then things start to phase out, and everything's going back to the zombie-looking world. All for Riri to somehow still be alive after we saw her get bit, and tell her she hacked the system and everything you're experiencing is not real. Only for Kamala to look shocked and the episode ends. So, what the heck just happened? I honest to God don't know. Was Kamala dreaming ever since like episode 1? Or did Wanda use the reality powers of the Infinity Stone to create a new reality? Because we saw when Thanos did it in live action, he could create a new reality, but it's just mostly like a hologram looking thing. But Wanda can do that herself, so why did she need the stone power? Wanda can literally reshape reality, so why did she need the infinity energy for? Was it to give her a boost? Who knows? So if they ever come out with a season 2, I guess they will like explain and everything, but it still doesn't explain why Kamala was the key and why her powers were the key. They never explain how Shang-Chi is able to fight off the infection. There's a lot of what the heck just happened here type stuff, And it really should have been explained, because they're gonna have to wait like what, another 5 years just to make like the second season? And will it even get a second season? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? So to me, this show was just okay. It was just kind of eh. I mean, it's interesting to check out, sure. But it's kind of like you feel like if this was a dream, then you feel like you just went through it for nothing. But what the heck did Riri mean when she said she hacked the system? What system? Are they hooked up to like a machine or something? Oh my God, I'm so worried for season 2 of X-Men 97. I'm so worried. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.